Unscripted.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of PD and P-Dubs Unscripted. This is P-Dubs' first time in the updated kind of studio arrangement.
I don't even know where I'm at. I mean, this is amazing. What a little change in geometric shape will provide for us.
Right, a whole new aspect. So now you just don't see our side profiles.
Yeah. We're not rectangular.
Right.
Now it's a whole circle.
Circle of life.
Circle of life.
You almost sound like Austin Powers or like Dr. Evil there. With the
I was quoting another film, but I won't say what it is. It is a circle.
But I mean, look at you. Like, you look at all the stuff. Like, you can have your Bible and your Greek New Testament.
Yes, look at this today, friends. I thought I'd look scholarly. Oh, hold on a second. Now I look scholarly with my Nestle Allen
Is that the
Greek New Testament.
Is that the 27th edition of the Nestle Allen?
Of course you had to ask me that, and I would have to say that it is.
I don't know why. I always remember that the Nestle is the 27th edition. I don't know if there is a 28th edition of the Nestle Allen.
I don't either. Yeah, there it is. Ed 27 in Roman numerals. I should have just looked right there on the
Nestle Allen, right?
Uh-huh. Yes, indeed, sir.
Let's see if there's a 28th edition, because I'm really... Oh, I Googled. There is a 28th edition, possibly. I don't know.
We'll have to get it.
I am a 27th edition only. That's what Dr. Freilich wanted in Greek class. So that is all I believe in.
I think there is only one to really consider, and that's the 27th. What is this updating? What is there to update? It's perfection.
Oh, I found the dictionary. I was like, oh, there's a Nestle Allen Greek New Testament with concise dictionary.
Oh, hey now.
Oh man, that could have helped. That would have been
temptation, right?
That would have been a game changer in college and seminary.
For sure.
But that came out in January of 2005. So right in the middle of my time with Dr. Freilich.
Okay. That was 2005, 2006 is when I joined the seminary. So I'm surprised that wasn't available to us.
Oh, the hardcover one's 2012. Ooh, $62 on Amazon.
What? I wonder if the price tag's still in mine.
Oh, this paperback one, $93 used.
93 used?
What is going on?
I'm sitting on a gold mine here. I got a little bend in my little, a little too much there. I don't have a price tag on mine.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But you can't put a price on the original text.
$80. Okay, for that one, there is a 28th edition that's $52. This is ridiculous. Don't they want the people to get God's word in the original language at a reasonable price?
Hey, even God's word has succumbed to inflation.
Oh, this one's $140. Oof.
140? What do they got in there? Is it printed in gold leaflets?
It just says hardcover large print.
Well,
and
as I get a little older, a large print would suit me good.
Ancient Greek edition.
Ancient Greek? Isn't this? Yeah, I don't know.
Koine
Greek, yeah.
Okay, enough about just getting...
Yeah, we've lost our entire audience.
But I don't know. Talking about the Nestle Allen, it is a joyous thing. It takes me back to college and Greek.
Yeah. Is it bad when I hear the word Nestle Allen, I think of candy bars?
Well, Nestle...
It's like Crunch bars. Oh, well.
But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, now we're just talking in sync here with one another with our yeses. But yeah, so you did bring it down here for a reason, because we kind of want to look at the text that we heard this past Sunday in church.
Yes, sir.
Where it's talking about, there's a lot in this text with like Jesus coming to the disciples, telling them to put the net on the side of the boat.
Yeah.
And the 153 fish, which I like how they note that 153 fish.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that in our devotion that PD led for us in our staff meeting earlier this week. And I was like, I wonder if they just put that 153 in there to that's a ton of fish. Let's lay them out and count them out. This is the most amazing catch of fish we've had. Just to put it in there, we had to count it, And
I just wonder, the size of the fish, because 153, if it's a little goldfish,
Yeah.
That feels pretty easy. Like, I feel like I could do that.
Oh, but it's the Lord filling up the net.
But if it's like a largemouth mouth bass, that's a lot of.
Oh, I know. I mean, maybe there's some walleye in there. Or,
yeah, I'm not sure what was in the water that they were fishing in.
Yeah, muskie. You have 153 muskies? Ooh, baby.
And you would think, like, I don't know, I'm not a fisherman. I've never used, like, a net to fish like that. Mm-hmm. But you would think, like, wouldn't the fish be trying to swim away as you're trying to pull them on the boat?
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're squirming all over the place.
So that's 153 fish going in the opposite direction of what you're trying to go into.
Yeah. That would be the thing to like Google is what's the variety of fish in the Sea of Galilee? Can you do that real quick?
Yeah, I can do that.
Because that way we can have an idea of, what kind of fish we're talking about here. Is it just perch? Is it, I don't know. Coho?
Coho?
They used to have coho fishermen in the 1970s, Lake Michigan. It's kind of a junky fish.
Okay, so there's the mushed. This group includes the popular tilapia galilea.
Oh, okay, tilapia.
Commonly called St. Peter's fish.
All right.
Then there's also binny or barbels.
Okay.
This group consists of 3 species of the carp family. Mm-hmm. The 2 most common species are the Barbus longiceps and the Barbus canis. Both are used by Jews for Sabbath meals and feasts.
Well, a carp is a big fish. It can get pretty big, so that's heavy.
And then a Kinneret sardine. At the height of the fishing season, tens of tons of sardines are caught every night. In the New Testament, times these fish were preserved by pickling. Magdala was known as the center of this industry.
Okay, so those are smaller fish, but a whole bunch of them. So, yeah, it could be. That shows you variety in size.
Yeah, I see some of these fish here. They're showing me here. Let's see. This is going to be bad podcasting.
Okay.
But, there's the mushed.
Okay, it looks like a crappie almost for us.
There's it cooked with French fries.
Ugh.
Is that the...
Oh, those are pretty... Those got to be the carp type fish.
And that's all I got on this website.
Yeah, those are good sized fish. So imagine, a net full of that.
That would be pretty tough.
That'd be like... You know how, like, when you go on fishing expeditions and they like, hang the fish on this, like, board and, you see them all sized up? I wonder if that was the whole purpose of, like, lining up 153, just like, we got some big ones, right. Definite keepers.
Right. These ones, throw them back.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to think you just had me read that so I could try to read the Latin names of these fish that I probably butchered.
Well, you're a scholarly Latin scholar.
Yeah, I took all of 0 years of Latin.
Yeah, so that's what it starts out with. The guys are fishing, and again, they're striking out. Jesus tells them, put it in again. They get this big thing, and then he's having breakfast for him, and he says, "Come and eat breakfast."
Right, and I don't know. I can't imagine Jesus. Hey, come have breakfast with me, guys.
Come on, don't get so excited.
But
come and eat breakfast.
It's like the simplicity of just like having breakfast with Jesus. You think of times like I think of like. There goes my Bible. Well, but I'll finish what I was saying. But, I think it was the last time I did Ask the Pastor for our Instagram when Joe was like, who would you want to have a meal with from the Bible? That simplicity of Jesus to say, here, come have breakfast with me.
Yeah, I mean, and, it was a way to kind of center his disciples and, it's like, let's just stop all this fishing, because I think a lot of them didn't know what to do with themselves shortly after the resurrection, and it wasn't it Peter said, "I'm just going to go fishing," and like when you're perplexed or scared about your future, sometimes you resort to what you know best.
Right. There's maybe that comfort in that. Like you think about when you're having a stressful day. Mm-hmm. There's nothing better than going to that thing that you find comfort in, whether it's maybe walking. For dog lovers, just petting your dog. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like, I think I've talked about this before, like in seminary, playing catch. Yeah. Nothing beat just, hey, in between classes, hey, bring your gloves, like our recurring guest, Pastor Dave Ficken. There's plenty of times where him and I brought our gloves to class and just threw the baseball around in between class. And I don't know, that's a relaxing thing.
It is. Just a couple of months ago, my oldest son called me up and said, hey, what are you doing? You want to play some catch? And I was with my daughter, and so we got her a glove, and we played catch. And I don't know about the rest of y'all, but like when we were playing catch, we'd be talking a lot when we're playing catch. So it's like good, relational stuff rather than just throwing a ball.
Right. So those ideas of going what's familiar, where you find comfort. He knew what he was doing with fishing. But then you add like here, it's like, oh, now the frustration, maybe having a rough go, and now, oh, no fish today.
Yeah.
That disappointment.
Right. Can't do anything right. Nothing's working. And then, whaba, 153. And then Jesus is like, all right, come here. I made you breakfast. Come sit down with me. And I think that says a lot like, come on, it's time to get back together,
Right. And now I'm thinking, I don't know, it came up on my Instagram reels today where it was like, if Peter had a smartphone and it was like him doing like the selfies of like, here's them feeding the 5,000 or him on the boat when Jesus is walking or like running to the tomb and you see him running to the tomb. I'm just like, you just wonder what those moments were like.
Didn't somebody say this week that they do have pictures like that, recreating like AI things?
I think, and that's what this really was.
Yeah, that would be kind of funny. I think I saw one of those of Peter kind of crouching, in front of the crowd, and Jesus was behind him, and they're like,
taking the picture.
Yeah, so yes, we've really like dove deep into like
we've only been going
the simplistic here.
We've only been going for 11 minutes here.
Oh man. So but what we really wanted to talk about was that encounter with Peter afterwards.
Right, that's time where after they get done eating and Jesus, says to him like, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? And something I hit upon in my sermon this weekend, like, I don't know about you, but I feel like when that conversation, when Jesus says that to John or to Peter, it's one of those like, when you have those conversations that you're dreading to have with somebody, and that person starts in, and you're like, I was hoping this wasn't gonna.
Yeah.
I just don't look forward to this conversation. I wonder if that was a sense of feeling.
It must have been because remember, like you always bring up that look after the denial. And that Jesus looked over and saw Peter, how that just probably crushed Peter's heart. And like, oh, I really let my Lord down. And like you say, okay, he's risen. I've seen him a couple times. And now he wants to sit down and talk.
And he says, do you love me? First thing.
Oh, man.
From what we get in the Bible, if I remember correctly, this is the first kind of one-on-one interaction that he's had since the resurrection. And right away, rips off that Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking of those conversations that you're not looking forward to having with somebody and you almost dread. And then once they bring up those words, it's just like, okay, I messed up. I'm a failure. I disappointed you.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes.
Yeah. And, who do you think the more, do you love me more than these? Who are the these, do you think?
Yeah, like, that is a tough one to think about. Like, these, like, is it the other disciples or the things of this world?
Yeah. Right. That's kind of where I lean toward is like, do you love me more than these brothers? Yeah, but it could be like, do you love me more than fishing? Like, because like we're getting at, they're kind of resorting back to the thing of comfort.
And this kind of speaks to like their initial call when they're fishermen, leaving behind what when maybe you do love that. There's that comfort that we talked about. And now here, like, hey, and as he goes on, and it's like, listen, you're going to follow me. It's not going to be easy. So are you willing to endure through this? Because you weren't willing to stick up and say, I know me, or I know you know who I am, in the midst of Jesus is one of his most difficult times of being arrested and everything.
Yeah.
Are you going to stick with me when things get difficult? You say you love me, but hey.
Right. And I just think that's a great question. If it was said to us, how would we answer? Like, what are these for us? Kind of what you're getting at. Like, do you love me more than these? Maybe your family, or these, your hobbies, Are these where you are spending an inordinate amount of your downtime with? You know
Like,
what I mean?
what do you spend your money on?
Right.
Your priorities. And it's,
The people you hang around with or the activities that you do. If you think of like, what do you really enjoy in life? Like, you kind of name some of them, like just getting away, maybe it's fishing, maybe you just like being out in nature or spending time with your dog or your family or
on a golf course.
On a golf course, going to a ball game. Do you love me more than all of these? Right. Do you? And you're like, to us who are pastors, I think we might answer Jesus the same way. Well, Lord, we love you. Like, look, we're committing our lives and our vocation to you. We love you, right? But yet, he's wanting more from us.
Right, and like the two things as you were talking kind of stuck out to me. I was saying back to my vicarage, I remember talking to some of our youth and talking about like, not going to church because, I like to sleep in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that. And they're like, you're going to be a pastor, so you like being here at church. I'm like, I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I also enjoy sleep as well. I might not be good, but just because I'm going to be a pastor that time, a vicar, doesn't mean that I don't like sleep and wouldn't mind sleeping in on a Sunday, which
I know.
But it's one of those also like, I don't think I can justify that to God. Like, God, I didn't come to church this weekend because I wanted to sleep in.
How about that we pick a weekend where we just online, we tune in online. Pastors, we're in our jammies.
I mean,
sorry, we slept in a little.
Right. I mean, part of me, that's why, like, when I do have vacation, if I do worship here on vacation time, I come on Saturday. That way, Sunday, I kind of don't have to be rushing to get around, even though 10:30 isn't really rushing.
No.
I'm already up by like 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And don't you find it when you have days where you can sleep in, you're up at 5 o'clock?
Well, that's like I'm like, I'm not a good sleeper. Like, that is not one of my gifts. I wish it was.
It always frustrates me. It's like, tomorrow I'm going to sleep in because it's my day off. And then I'm up. Either the dogs wake me up or my eyes open up and I'm wide awake. And I'm like frustrated because I want to go to sleep.
Right. There are some days where I'm like, okay, let's take Madison out. Let's feed her. I'm just going to go back in bed and put the TV on and just doze off and doze in and out of watching this TV. But so it's like that sacrifice of like putting the priorities. But the other thing I was thinking about initially too, when you were talking about like these things and like the struggles, like how would we answer like that idea of like, I think about like Columbine, the girl Cassie, that the shooters were like, hey, do you believe in God? And when she said yes, they shot and killed her, as the story goes.
Right.
But I'm like, how would I respond if I was in that situation? I pray and hope that I wouldn't deny my faith.
Exactly.
Kind of like Peter, oh Lord, I would never deny you. But then in the face of that, would I respond the way I want to in this moment of like, when I don't have
self-preservation?
I'm like, I think that kind of gets to what we were talking about initially, kind of in some of this conversation about like, do you love me more than these things?
Yeah.
Are you willing to lay down your life for these things, or are you going to shy away?
Right. And the whole purpose, why is Jesus asking him that? He asks him 3 times to the point where Peter is like frustrated and pained by it.
Right. Right. Because we see that there in end of verse 17. Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the 3rd time.
Yeah, but every time Peter answers, Jesus gives him something to do.
Right.
And so, and they're all kind of related, lamb, sheep.
Right. Feed my, tend my.
Tend my. It's almost like Jesus is like, well, I'm about ready to give you something really, really important to do, or something so precious to me to care for, that I need to know that you love me over all things, right? Because these that I'm having you care for matter to me, you know, and it's more than just a flippant, a curiosity. I think it's Jesus is preparing Peter's heart to be ready to take on
responsibility.
the responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, because you think about we're to love like how Jesus loved us. He loved us, all the good, all the bad, so much that he was willing to give his life for that.
Right.
Are you willing to take on that responsibility? Which, like I said, in this moment, I'd hope to say, yeah, I'm willing to do that. But in the face of that, would I pull what Peter did on that first Maundy Thursday of nope, I don't know ya.
Right. Yeah. And to be so bothered by it that you disassociate yourself entirely to Jesus, and you call down curses on yourself. I don't know the man.
Right. And I think we probably talked when we had, because I'm sure we've done a podcast talking about that. But you would think, wouldn't you realize after the first time of denying him,
yeah,
oh, what did I just do? And then to get more angry each time. But it's look at us when we sin.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't even realize it. Even once we commit it, we're oh, and then we keep maybe going down that path. And then finally it sinks in what did I just do?
Yeah. Well, I think you're getting onto something because, you might think, why does Jesus ask him 3 times? Well, he denied him 3 times. And then, you're getting at, there's a progression of the level of denial, right? And there's a progression in here, too.
Right, and I think that's why you brought in the Nestle Allen.
It is. So, in English, we see the word love. Love, love, love. Do you love me? I love you. Do you love me? Yes, I love you, Lord. Do you love me? You know I love you. And John records it, I think, for a reason. I don't know if Jesus, he must have said the words the way he said. There's the various levels of love, and John uses 2 of them. One is phileo love, which is brotherly love or familial love. We have a brotherly love. We care for each other. Then there's agape love, which is a sacrificial love. A love that is ascribed probably rightly only to God, right? Because I think only he could be the true essence of agape sacrificial love. We can try and sacrifice things out of love, but I don't our sinful heart.
Right. We don't get to the extent that it might be I think back to, and not critique, but in chapel earlier this year when we were talking about Lent and I was talking to the kids about what you gave up.
Oh, yeah.
And you had some kids I gave up going to the zoo for one day. It's I appreciate it. It's a sacrifice. But it's one day. It's
one day.
I'm going back I'm just going to go the next day.
At least they admitted it.
They admitted it. But
us adults, we would be thinking that, but say, well, I gave it up.
I gave it up.
Lasted a day.
It's oh, what are you giving up for Lent? I'm giving up drinking coffee for both of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's not a hard thing for either of us to do.
Nope. But for someone it might be.
But it's that idea of oh yeah, I make a sacrifice. But how really big of a sacrifice?
Is it truly a sacrifice? Yeah. So that progression, I think, maybe John bore that out for our benefit because, just as our denial and our sinfulness progresses into something superficial down to something downright to the core of us, so does the level of love. And so really what's happening in this exchange, according to the way John has written it, is that Jesus is saying, do you love me sacrificially? And John is saying, I love you like a brother. You know that. And then he asks him the same level again. And then he sees Peter getting frustrated, right? And you could postulate well, why is he getting frustrated? Is it because he keeps asking him? Or is it because he asks him about a love that he realizes he can't say, I agape love you, because he says, I phileo love you. So then Jesus, in the most pastorally loving way, in that third level, he drops it down to phileo. Well, now I really understand that can you love me in this level? And then he says, you know all things, And so he tells him to feed his sheep. So the most precious of the Lord's flock, right? He gives him this amazing task.
Right.
But yeah, he walked him through the paces, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like that, and you wonder. We talk about that stare in the midst of this conversation. You know how you recall things in your mind's eye of a moment. I bet Peter was like seeing Jesus' face in that moment of denial through this conversation.
Right. You wonder, like, when it says Peter was hurt, was he picturing it in that hurt?
Yeah.
And just reliving that. I mean, I think that's the same, like I was kind of hitting about earlier, like when you have those conversations that you dread with somebody, as it's happening, you're reliving that and you realize, like, oh, I know I messed up. I know I didn't do what was right.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you get that, and then you also get, I mean, I think it's difficult saying there too when you get into verse 18. Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. And then you get verse 19. Jesus said this to indicate to what kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. Like, oof. Like, he's just saying this because, yeah, this is your future.
Yeah.
And I mean, in our tradition speaks to that Peter was crucified upside down because he didn't feel worthy to die in the same manner as Christ. And I can't imagine crucifixion to begin with, but then to be upside down.
Yeah, with all the blood rushing to your head and your body.
Like, I mean,
oh, the pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I've never done a roller coaster where I've gone upside down, but I couldn't imagine, like, you see people sometimes get stuck in a roller coaster.
Yep.
What would it feel like being stuck upside down?
Ooh. Yeah, uncomfortable, for sure.
But that, at least you're not nailed to something like Peter would have been on the cross, like tradition suggests.
Yeah, so it's like Jesus gives him this assignment to care for the part of the flock that he loves so dearly, and then says, like, well, because you do this, you're going to be led away to something you don't want to do.
And then he wraps up, follow me.
Yeah, and so, like, would Peter be like, I'm on board, Jesus. Let's go. Or would you be just sitting there going, what did he just say? What does he just say that I should do?
Follow me?
Yeah, and then, like, to my death, and so that gets back to the love. Do you love me so much that you would be willing to die for me and care for the ones that I love dearly?
Right.
That's a tall order. It's a tall ask.
And when I was looking at this last week and, and talked a little bit in my message, because last week was call day for both of our seminaries, Fort Wayne and St. Louis. And it was one of those, like, I started thinking about it, and I looked up, and if I counted right, there was 94 candidates placed as pastors between both seminaries.
Hey, that's a all right number, I guess. Kind of back to the level when we were going through.
Right. But I was saying about that, the 94, and then thinking back to, like, my call day, and I'm sure you can relate, that was an example of God saying, follow me.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you sure you got the right person, God?
Mm-hmm.
And not knowing the joys and the challenges that were going to lie ahead in those times of, like, your first call here, my first call to Salem. And then even I was thinking, like, my call here, like, Jesus is saying, follow me.
Yeah.
And same with these 94 young men, or maybe not young, because there might be some second career guys. Follow me to maybe a place they've never even dreamed of living, to a congregation they're not familiar with, but they're following God to his command to come follow me, to feed his sheep, to tend his sheep.
Yeah. And you remember how everybody was so, like, joyful and, like, I got a call, and, like, you're, like, ready to go. But yet you have no idea really what you're stepping into, but you are so excited and so pumped and ready to go.
Right. And obviously it's a little bit different than you, because it's not like when you got the call here, you're like, well, what's Palatine, Illinois like?
Right, yeah.
Like me for Sam, I was like, what can I learn about this town?
There's that whole aspect I didn't have to go through.
Like, even for, like, Vicarage, since you were local in Fort Wayne, and me going to Bartlesville, Oklahoma, it's like, what's in Bartlesville, Oklahoma?
Right.
And looking up stuff about Oklahoma, what was there, and learning about the town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, most guys have to deal with change in environment, region, being away from family, that kind of thing. I was really blessed on both ends there. That is something where you have to come in totally cold and not know what to expect.
Right, but it's hearing that call of follow me.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I talked about in my message, where is God saying, follow me to each of us?
Mm-hmm.
And it looks different for each of us.
It does. Right. And so that's something for us to contemplate. Like, even if it's just a new job, maybe that you've been with a company and you feel like, well, my work here is done and I'm going to look for another job. And maybe that looking takes you to a different location. We have to move, right, whether you're alone or your family. Those are big things for people. And but you, even in those things, you as individuals who follow the Lord must feel like, well, the Lord is leading me to this, right. Maybe it's an advancement in your career, or even as maybe you're moving away from family, right. To know that God is with you.
Right. Maybe it's a change you didn't really want to make. Mm-hmm. Different circumstances forced you to follow.
Right.
Which then goes back to the disciples with the fishing. They trusted Jesus when he said, throw your nets on this side.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do. And same with the other reading for this past weekend with Acts of Ananias going to Saul, Paul, whatever you want to call him.
Right.
Because pretty much in a sense, God was telling him, follow me to the straight road and find this man, Saul.
That's right.
And it's like, yeah, sure you
But Lord, don't you know this guy? He's been breathing murderous threats to the Jews. And you want me to go see him and talk to him?
Really? Do I really have to follow you there?
I'm sure I'm not hearing this right.
But still that, and any of those times when God calls us to follow him, whether it's to a person, to a place, or a how, we have to trust him.
Yeah.
And the other is pray. Pray for you need to pray yourself, but also share it with the people in your life so that they can pray for you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we're directed by the Lord, it's hard to say no.
Right.
We can say no. Like, you and I could have said no to the Lord, no, I'm not going to become a pastor. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, or I've got a different plan. And I think the Lord would be kind to us and bless our lives as we continue to live for him in a different way. But there are times it's you can't deny where he's leading you. I don't know. I found that same way going to SEM. It's this keeps coming up. I can't really shake it. And so it's I think I have to.
Right. And I think the other thing, I know I've experienced along the way, is in those moments of maybe where there is that self-doubt, God does those little ways to reassure you, whether through a person's actions or different things.
Right. For sure.
And even if it's not thought it was interesting, yesterday was one of those for Teacher Appreciation Week, this bring somebody on staff their favorite flower. And I had one of the sixth graders bring me flowers.
Oh, nice.
And I was just wow. I'm that really was a nice thing, and kind of okay, I am doing what God has called me to do.
Yeah.
And I was I don't think I have a favorite flower.
Well, it was, they see you.
Right.
They see you, Pastor.
So that's what really, God has those reassurances, even if you're not a pastor, just reassuring you, hey, you're going on the right path.
Right. Exactly. And, but it is quite a thing to consider, the level of love that you have for the Lord, because I think, as we said earlier, we would all say, of course I love you, Lord. I love you. And then it's just how much.
Right.
And the Lord gives each and every one of us opportunity to love people who are precious to him. If you're a parent, your children are very precious to the Lord. And, there's a lot of moms and dads who wonder their purpose. Okay, my purpose is I'm going to raise my kids, and then they become adults, and they might think, well, my job is done. Well, actually, as a parent, your job's never done, even with your adult kids. Right. There's always ways to guide and direct, just in a different way, right? And
you still worry about them, because I'm I'm the youngest of my two older brothers. I got two older brothers, and I'm 40, and I'm sure even as a grown adult, my parents are still worried And
I bet your mom's worried about you around all these people every week. You know what I mean? Like, Lord, protect him so he doesn't get sick, you know? And I mean, I know my mom was the same way. She was always concerned about us. Like, even if we traveled, I remember when we would come home from SEM and get to Fort Wayne, she'd always say, call me up, let me know you got there. Well, sometimes we get home late and I'd be like dead tired after driving. I'd forget. And well, a couple times I got a late call. Did you make it? Oh, sorry, Mom. I've been up all this time. Like, oh, I'm so sorry.
It's like when you're a teenager from coming back late.
I know. Holy cow. Yeah, I remember a few of those. Standing at the top of the stairs. Do you know what time it is? 4 a.m.
But yeah, so that just like there's still that care, even though they are adults.
So what I mean by all that is, no matter what station in life that we are at, or that we are in, I guess is the appropriate thing, God has a purpose for us. Even when we're advanced in years, many people will say, well, there's really nothing for me to do. Honestly, I think Jesus still comes and says to you, do you love me more than this?
Right.
Then you have work for me to do.
Right. I think of like times of visiting elderly people when they're like, well, I don't know why God hasn't called me home yet.
Right.
And I'm just always like, well, God still has plans for you.
Yes, he does.
I don't know what those plans are, but God still has plans for you here on this earth. And once those plans are complete, he'll call you home.
Yeah, I'll bring up my mom one more time. She couldn't walk anymore. And she's like, well, what can I do? I can't get up and go do something. I go, but yeah, Mom, you have the awesome smile that when people come in, you welcome them genuinely. And like that changes people's disposition. Like if you walk into a room and someone's like grumpy and scouring at you, you're not going to feel too good. But like, I'm not kidding you, Mom. Every time someone walks in, I've seen it. Like people walk in, you don't even know who they are, and you're gracious and smiling to them. I see it makes a difference to them. So there you go, and it's hard to be convinced of that sometimes when your body is failing you and things like that. So, but yeah, there's always something for us to do in this life for the Lord, and that's a challenge to remember that, and maybe the threefold telling, well, go do this. I think, that repetition helps it sink in.
Right.
As opposed to just one time.
Right. And no matter what, wherever God is saying, follow me, we have that promise of Jesus is going to be with us.
Yeah. Amen.
So
good one to end on.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for listening, and thanks P-Dubs for a great conversation here, and God's blessings.